My husband's dream girl showed up at our wedding and was sexually harassed by my younger brother-in-law. I stepped in to help, pulling her behind me for protection. But my husband accused me of being jealous and deliberately trying to harm his dream girl. You know what kind of person my brother is. How could you let Ashley Miller get near him? I can't believe you'd stoop this low out of jealousy. I'm going to teach you a lesson. He turned around and sent my private photos to his group of friends. On our wedding night, he locked me and his groomsmen in the honeymoon suite and let them humiliate me under the guise of hazing the bride. I struggled and screamed, only to hear my husband's icy voice from outside the door. Begging for mercy now? See if you dare target Ashley Miller again. 3 hours later, my husband finally spoke from behind the door. All right, the hazing the bride ends here. Let her reflect on her own. The groomsmen exchanged terrified glances, not daring to say a word, because I was bleeding out all over, completely lifeless. That venomous woman, Emily Carter, deserves to be taught a lesson. David Wilson's voice came through the door of the honeymoon suite. I faintly heard his dream girl, Ashley Miller, feigning concern. Dave, Emily Carter has been screaming inside for so long. Is she really okay? David Wilson scoffed. What could possibly happen to her? My buddies know their limits. They're just giving her a little scare. Ashley Miller, you're too soft-hearted. Emily Carter has been scheming against you, and you're still sticking up for her. Through the door, I could practically see the smug look on Ashley Miller's face. Dave, if the old man, David's father, hadn't intervened back then, wouldn't today's wedding be ours? But after all, she's your wife in name now. Can you really bring yourself to turn her wedding into a hazing the bride? My pupils dilated, and David Wilson's snicker was particularly grating. What's there to feel bad about? I'm already stuck with her for life. She owes you this much. I closed my eyes in despair, letting the blood soak the red bedsheet and drip onto the floor. Drip, drip, my soul floated in midair, and I saw David Wilson affectionately embracing Ashley Miller outside. The guests had already left one after another. In the empty living room, the two were making love amidst my heart-wrenching cries for help. An ache shot through the empty space where my heart used to be, filled with despair. 3 hours later, David Wilson glanced at the wedding photos of Emily Carter and him in the living room and finally remembered me. He leisurely got off Ashley Miller, walked to the door of the honeymoon suite, and said in a detached tone, "Guys, the hazing the bride ends here. Let her reflect on her own." The 5 men inside the room exchanged terrified glances. Because I was dead, tragically and grotesquely. Okay. One of the men with a buzz cut answered tremulously, not daring to tell David Wilson about my horrific state. David Wilson put his hand on the doorknob, looking like he was about to go in. I suddenly wanted to know what David Wilson's reaction would be if he saw me like this. But just as David Wilson was about to open the door, Ashley Miller suddenly called out to him. He changed into casual clothes, put his arm around Ashley Miller, and walked out of the house. Let me take you to see the villa I bought for you. Aren't you going abroad in a few days? I'll give you a villa before you leave. You'll definitely love it. I watched the two of them walk away. The groomsmen inside were panicking. The 5 of them went from being terrified to passing the buck. Who the hell told you guys to do this? Don't blame me. That bitch was screaming her head off. I don't know which one of you said to just end her with a knife. Dave's wife has a great body. I don't understand why he's so obsessed with that other woman. I think this wife is better. Stop talking. What do we do with her now? If David Wilson finds out his woman is completely dead, we're screwed with his temper. The honeymoon suite instantly fell silent. Their eyes were fixed on my body. The buzz-cut man immediately clapped his hands and announced his plan. Then, I could only watch my body being wrapped in plastic by the 5 men and stuffed into a suitcase. No, we have to clean up the bloodstains in the room. I stared at the men below, clenching my fists involuntarily. I didn't think David Wilson would come back tonight, but half an hour later, he drove back in a hurry, without Ashley Miller. I floated in the air all alone, watching David Wilson turn the doorknob. The door was locked from the inside. I noticed a hint of anger flash across David Wilson's usually calm face. "Emily Carter, what are you doing now? Open the door for me." David Wilson paused for a moment. Inside, the groomsmen who were wiping the bloodstains off the floor stiffened, and the 5 of them panicked completely. Seeing David Wilson's patience wearing thin, he started banging on the door like crazy. "Emily Carter, I'm counting to 3. Open the door for me. 3. The groomsmen were in a frenzy. The honeymoon suite was big, but the windows had been nailed shut. 2. I stared coldly at the man below, hatred spreading through my chest. The next second, David Wilson actually picked up the hammer on the table and smashed it hard on the doorknob. The door was broken open, and his body froze. "Why are you guys still here?" David Wilson stared at the 5 brothers in the room, frowning involuntarily. "Didn't I tell you to leave after a couple of hours of hazing the bride? How long has it been? Have the guests all left?" The 5 groomsmen exchanged glances. The buzz-cut man quickly spoke up. "Dave, Oh, right, it's your woman. She's really feisty. She locked us brothers in and wouldn't let us out." I saw a hint of suspicion flash across David Wilson's face, but it disappeared in an instant. He reached out and covered his nose. "Why does it smell so fishy in here? And where's the bed sheet?" The 5 groomsmen seemed to be afraid of the Wilson family's power and influence in Oak Haven, and they were trembling with fear. David Wilson stared at the buzz-cut man in the lead and continued to ask, "Mike, are you hiding something from me?" The 5 groomsmen were all David Wilson's cronies and lackeys. At this moment, David Wilson roared, and the 5 of them didn't dare to breathe. Mike, who was always slick, still answered without changing his expression even though his hands were trembling slightly. "Dave, when we were hazing the bride today, that woman thought we were going to do something, and she bit Kevin Brown's hand until it bled, so that's why there's a bloody smell. As for the bed sheet, that woman swiped it. She said she didn't want to marry you or something, and we couldn't stop her." As he spoke, he didn't forget to glance at David Wilson's face. Sure enough, the next second, David Wilson's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. "That bitch, Emily Carter. I was even worried about her being alone in the honeymoon suite, so I left Ashley Miller and rushed over here. I didn't expect her to not realize her mistake at all." The others secretly breathed a sigh of relief when they saw his expression. "Dave, thanks to you, we were able to get out. Yeah, now we won't interfere in you two's business anymore. We brothers are tired after a long day, so we'll head back first. Happy wedding, Dave." The groomsmen exchanged glances and left after flattering David Wilson. David Wilson nodded, took out his phone, and dialed my number. "That venomous woman, Emily Carter. I want to see what she's up to. Running away on our wedding night." As he said that, my phone rang urgently. It was still his favorite song from when we were in love. But at this moment, the air froze for a moment, and the hearts of the 5 groomsmen seemed to jump into their throats, because the phone was ringing inside the suitcase that the buzz-cut man was pushing. "Wait," David Wilson's eyes turned cold. He looked at the dialing page on his phone and then stared at the suitcase in Mike's hand. "Is Emily Carter's phone in there? Why is it in your suitcase?" David Wilson stared at Mike's pale face and slowly approached. The words he squeezed out from between his teeth seemed to carry a fierce aura. "What exactly are you hiding from me? If I find out, you know what I'm capable of." "Dave." Mike knelt straight down on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. "Dave, I know I was wrong. You know I used to be a petty thief, so just now I saw that Emily Carter's phone looked valuable, so I secretly took Took it. Dave, I was wrong. Mike's head was bleeding, and he didn't forget to give the other groomsmen a quick wink. Seeing this, the other four rushed forward in a swarm. Dave, Mike, this guy, we brothers have already scolded him. Dave, we brothers came all the way here. Please don't hold it against Mike. Yeah, Dave, it's just a phone. Just consider it a groomsman's gift for him. David Wilson's expression was unclear. He stared at the page displayed on the phone for a long time. Then, he pulled out a card from his pocket and threw it over. There's $1 million in the card. You five can split it, but you can't take Emily Carter's phone. Kevin Brown, who was standing to the side, quickly said, Dave, why? That woman ran away on your wedding night. Just give us her crappy phone as a gift and teach her a lesson. Anyway. Kevin Brown thought he was making a lot of sense, but David Wilson interrupted him coldly. That phone was Emily Carter's dad's gift to her for her 18th birthday. She's had it for 3 years. Now that her dad is gone, I'm worried she'll make a fuss if she loses this phone. I paused in midair, listening to David Wilson's words in silence. So he still remembered that it was the last gift my dad gave me. Did he also remember that my dad died in a car accident to save him? And did he remember that he had promised my dad that he would never let me down? The 5 groomsmen below were sweating profusely. Finally, Mike said slyly, Dave, I locked the suitcase just now. I forgot the password. After Mike finished speaking, he didn't forget to look at David Wilson's face. David Wilson frowned and said angrily, Mike, do you think I'm stupid? You're used to being a petty thief. You have to return this phone. Dave, I'm really not lying. Give me some time. I'll go home, open the lock, and send it to you. I wrote down the password in a notebook at home. No need. I'll just have someone smash it open. How much is this suitcase worth? I'll pay you for it. Hey. No. Before Mike could finish speaking, the bodyguard at the door had already smashed the hammer on the suitcase. The suitcase broke open, and blood gurgled out. Then, my body, stained with blood, was exposed in front of everyone. David Wilson's pupils shrank suddenly. He stared intently at my unsightly appearance. What is this? David Wilson paused for 3 seconds. He didn't seem to see clearly, or he couldn't believe it. He took one step after another towards me. The 5 groomsmen rushed forward to block him, but he kicked them away. When David Wilson got closer and saw my pale face, David Wilson fell backward in shock. This is Emily Carter? What did you do to her? David Wilson's voice was trembling. The next second, Kevin Brown stammered and tried to justify himself. Dave, you've misunderstood. This isn't Emily Carter. You know I've always liked to research these silicone bodies since I was in school. When I saw you send Emily Carter's private photos in the group, I liked it so much, so I made one of her out of silicone myself. Before he could finish speaking, David Wilson punched him in the face. Are you fucking crazy? You scared the shit out of me. I knew that venomous woman, Emily Carter, couldn't die so easily. She's probably running to her so-called best friend to curse me out. All right, hurry up and take this unlucky thing away. Remember to leave the phone behind. David Wilson covered his nose and felt nauseous. He took the phone and walked directly out of the living room. Mr. Peterson, check where Emily Carter ran away from the villa tonight. Find out her escape route. I'm going to question her in person. Have I been spoiling her too much lately? I stared as David Wilson walked out of the villa again and drove towards Ashley Miller's villa. The 5 groomsmen quickly put my body back together and then carried the suitcase to the backyard and buried it under the peach tree. I watched myself being buried here in such a miserable way. The 5 groomsmen ran away under the cover of night. I trembled with anger and floated into the passenger seat of David Wilson's car. I followed him to the villa he had bought for Ashley Miller. "Dave, I knew you'd stay tonight." Ashley Miller greeted him from afar, leaning shyly into David Wilson's arms. That venomous woman, Emily Carter, actually ran away. Maybe I've been spoiling her too much lately, so she's acting up just because I gave her a little punishment. But it's all her fault. How dare she let you be harassed by my good-for-nothing stepmother's son? She deliberately led you over there, didn't she? David Wilson asked Ashley Miller, lowering his head. Ashley Miller hesitated and lowered her head. Of course. But don't blame her. Ashley Miller, you're too kind. You're going abroad in 3 days. I can't let you be wronged because of me in these 3 days. Ashley Miller smiled coyly, hiding the calculation in her eyes. I floated in the air, watching my husband and his dream girl getting intimate. The two of them lay on the sofa, and Ashley Miller reached out to take off David Wilson's clothes. But David Wilson grabbed her hand, uninterested. Let's just leave it at that for today. My eyelids are twitching. I have a feeling something's going to happen. Ashley Miller lowered her head, her eyes showing disappointment and calculation. She looked up and put on a smiling face. Are you worried about Emily Carter? I watched David Wilson's face. He didn't answer, but seemed to get up and walk to the door, then took out his phone and made a call. Did you find out? Mr. Peterson on the other end was silent for a moment, his voice trembling. Mr. Wilson, Emily Carter is dead. The sound of the phone hitting the floor. David Wilson quickly bent down to pick it up, but his hand was shaking uncontrollably. What are you talking about? What do you mean dead? If you dare to talk nonsense, I'll take your dog's life. He wanted to threaten Mr. Peterson to reorganize his words, but Mr. Peterson stated the truth again. The surveillance footage shows. Emily Carter hasn't left the villa since your wedding. So we suspect that the one in the suitcase you saw tonight was Emily Carter herself. Mr. Peterson finished the last word in a trembling voice, but David Wilson cursed directly. What the fuck are you talking about? That woman, Emily Carter, is tough. She didn't die even when she fell down the stairs and cracked her head open. How could she die from just hazing the bride? Besides, those 5 guys, Mike, wouldn't dare to hurt her without my orders. But Mr. Wilson, we did hear Emily Carter's screams that night, and you wouldn't let us go to help. Shut your mouth. David Wilson smashed the phone hard on the ground. Ashley Miller behind him was suddenly frightened. She whispered, Dave. I've never seen him like this before. So only that bitch, Emily Carter, can drive him crazy. It looks like I need to step up my game. She got up and went to David Wilson's side, pretending to be worried. Dave, what happened? Is it about Emily Carter? Seeing her reach out to hug him from behind, David Wilson impatiently pushed her away, accidentally pushing Ashley Miller to the ground. Ashley Miller frowned in pain, and David Wilson finally woke up. He quickly helped Ashley Miller up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Ashley Miller took the opportunity to burrow into David Wilson's arms. I heard everything you said just now. Actually, I think it's Emily Carter's prank. What? David Wilson's eyes lit up, and he looked at Ashley Miller expectantly. Ashley Miller continued, Dave, look, hasn't Emily Carter played a lot of pranks before? She used to be jealous and mischievously tear my clothes and pretend to be sick to make you go see her. She spoke eloquently, and David Wilson's expression softened a bit. But this time I feel. Don't feel anything. It's still a prank. Ashley Miller said firmly, pulling David Wilson back to bed. But David Wilson was still uninterested and absent-minded. I'm sorry, I think I should go back to the villa and find out what's going on. David Wilson coldly rejected Ashley Miller. Ashley Miller's eyes darkened, and she could only say with suppressed anger, "Then I'll go with you." The car drove back to the villa. I looked at the clock, and it was already 1:30 a.m. Mr. Peterson was waiting at the door with dark circles under his eyes. When David Wilson saw him, anger rose on his face again. "Where's the evidence you talked about? If you dare to lie, get the hell out of here after today." After he finished speaking, he noticed the two unfamiliar people in white coats standing behind Mr. Peterson. "Mr. Wilson, these two are the forensic doctors I hired." After identification, the one in the suitcase is indeed Emily Carter herself. After Mr. Peterson finished speaking, David Wilson punched him to the ground. Ashley Miller was frightened by the sight, and she quickly stepped forward to stop him. David Wilson was tired from hitting and stood up again, his eyes bloodshot and scary. "Take me to find her." I saw that David Wilson's whole body seemed to be filled with exhaustion. His feet seemed to be filled with lead, and every step he took seemed very heavy. Until he saw my body again, he walked towards me step by step. David Wilson's eyes fell on the gold handcuffs on my wrist, which had my favorite butterflies engraved on them. "Ah, get a doctor! Get a doctor! Send M to the hospital!" David Wilson roared, but just as he was about to reach out and grab me, he fainted. He was still thinking about sending me to the hospital? I laughed directly. At this time, I was beyond help. I calmly watched as everyone carried David Wilson away and then carried my body out on a stretcher. Ashley Miller was scared into a cold sweat. My death had given her too strong a stimulation. Ashley Miller was so scared that she ran back to her own villa. No way, no way. David Wilson fainted after seeing my miserable state. I stared at his expression when he fainted, and my heart was filled with mixed emotions. David Wilson and I had known each other for 4 years. David Wilson and I had a business marriage. At first, he was extremely cold to me. Even though we didn't have a wedding, we still lived together. I remembered all his preferences and made him stomach-nourishing porridge. I would even deliberately dress myself in the way he liked. But even though I tried my best to please him, he was still extremely cold to me. Until that day, he was almost hit by a speeding car on the road. That day, my dad came to see me and saw the scene. He quickly pulled David Wilson aside, but he couldn't dodge in time. After that time, his attitude towards me changed 180 degrees. At that time, I thought it was because he felt guilty towards me. He didn't love me. But in his gentle and considerate ways, I completely fell for him. He accompanied me to many places to travel, and I accompanied him to see countless sunsets. He promised to love me for the rest of my life, the next life, and the next life, and only love me alone. At that time, I naively thought that David Wilson really only loved me. However, after Ashley Miller reappeared, it seemed that everything had returned to the starting point. He began to be hot and cold towards me, and even believed Ashley Miller's lies, thinking that I was jealous and trying to harm her. But what he didn't know was that everything was Ashley Miller's own fault. So at this time, when I looked at the fainting David Wilson, I didn't feel touched at all. After David Wilson woke up the next day, he was eager to find me. But he learned that I was about to be cremated, and it was my best friend, Sarah, who signed the cremation consent form. David Wilson seemed to be crazy. He drove quickly to the crematorium. When he arrived, he saw that I was about to be cremated. He ran over like a madman and pulled me into his arms. "I'm her legal husband. You don't have the right to cremate my wife without my consent. M can still be saved. I want to save her. I want to save M." As soon as he finished speaking, Sarah, with red eyes, reached out and slapped him twice. "You killed my M. Give her back to me." Sarah cried heartbreakingly. After being pulled away by the crowd, she said to David Wilson fiercely, "It was fine when you made him break off contact with me, but now you actually let 5 groomsmen humiliate her to death. David Wilson, you're not even human." I floated in the air watching all of this, and a stabbing pain suddenly came from the empty space in my heart. David Wilson thought that Sarah taught me to be jealous and didn't let me contact her. He didn't even let me send an invitation to Sarah for the wedding. But now, after hearing the news about me, Sarah rushed over from another place overnight, but could only face my tragic body. David Wilson endured all the scolding, but still argued softly, "I didn't want the groomsmen to humiliate her. I just wanted to punish her a little. This is my wife. Mind your own business." David Wilson hugged my body tightly, his eyes bloodshot and his whole body trembling. After half a minute, he had the bodyguards pull Sarah away. I watched him carefully wipe my cheeks and leave a kiss on my forehead. Then, David Wilson ordered people to refrigerate me in his house. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Now, I'll be with you forever." Everyone thought David Wilson was crazy. He began to stay at home. David Wilson used ice to preserve me completely and kissed my face from time to time. The maids in the villa were all terrified. They packed their luggage overnight, asked David Wilson for their wages, and ran away. In the past, David Wilson would have scolded them harshly, but at this time, David Wilson was too lazy to bother. He just quietly looked at my ruined body and began to mutter to himself self-pityingly, "If only I hadn't punished you. I never thought of hurting you, I've been with you for so many years. How could I not love you? I'm just confused." David Wilson said to himself and took out my phone from his pocket. He entered his birthday as the password. He opened the phone's lock screen password. Once, I loved him and told him that I would enter his birthday as the password. David Wilson began to browse through our chat history. He began to look at his relationship with me from my perspective. After a long time, he suddenly burst into tears. So you've done so much for me." David Wilson exited our chat box and then noticed the familiar profile picture, which was Ashley Miller's. He clicked in out of curiosity and saw unsightly words, and he realized that I had endured a lot. The last message was still Ashley Miller's provocative words to me. "Emily Carter, I feel sorry for you. You've been with Dave, but in the end, you're nothing. Dave doesn't love you. I advise you to get a divorce if you have any sense." I noticed a hint of disbelief flash across his eyes, which turned into anger. Ashley Miller. It's all because of Ashley Miller. After David Wilson put away the phone, he struggled to stand up and began to investigate everything. The truth was often hard for him to believe. It turned out that Ashley Miller had returned from abroad specifically because she heard that I was holding a wedding with him. And Ashley Miller didn't buy a ticket back abroad either, which meant that Ashley Miller had been playing David Wilson all along. And David Wilson also began to investigate the surveillance footage of the wedding scene. David Wilson stared intently at the surveillance footage. He saw Ashley Miller actively nestling in the arms of his stepmother's son, and the two of them were intimate. Then, after he caught them, Ashley Miller pretended to cry and said that the stepmother and stepson were harassing her, and that I had deliberately led her there. He began to see M being wronged by him, and the fear, disappointment, and despair flashing across M's happy face. It's all my fault. I once said that I would love you and protect you for the rest of my life. I saw David Wilson close his eyes painfully and then, as if he had made up his mind, began to plan everything. Half an hour later, Ashley Miller was kicked out of the villa. David Wilson took back the house he had bought. I floated back into David Wilson's passenger seat, watching him take 100 bodyguards to another place. He kicked the door open with full force. Half a minute later, the drunken men inside groggily opened the door, instantly sobering up. Dave, Dave. What are you doing?" Mike and the others were pinned to the ground by the bodyguards. David Wilson glared at them fiercely. How dare you lay a hand on my M? David Wilson stepped on one of the groomsmen's hands, his face twisted in a terrifying expression. You caused her miserable death, you all don't want to live anymore. I'm going to make you wish you were dead. David Wilson's 5 so-called good brothers had been on edge for days. Tonight, they had planned to gather for one last meal before fleeing, but David Wilson caught them first. I watched David Wilson's bloodshot eyes, his eyebrows filled with ruthlessness. The house was filled with piercing screams, but they couldn't escape because David Wilson had installed soundproofing around the walls beforehand. He was taking revenge on these men. They used to be David Wilson's little followers in high school, his so-called good brothers. But now, his so-called good brothers had caused his wife's death. I listened to the 5 men's screams, but I was surprisingly calm. I watched them go from struggling and begging for mercy to finally shouting in anger, David Wilson, you son of a bitch, aren't you at fault yourself? What kind of normal person sends his wife's private photos to a group of bros? You tacitly approved of what we did. You're the one who let us ruin your wife. You deserve it. David Wilson, if you're going to kill us, then hurry up. I'll be watching you get your comeuppance from hell. Neglecting your beautiful wife and having an affair with a mistress. Serves you right that your wife hated you. Oh yeah, she even had tears in her eyes at the end. She said she gave her heart to the wrong person. Ha ha ha. After the 5 men chattered on, David Wilson directly stabbed them in the chest. He looked like he was in great pain. It was the first time I had ever seen him like this. David Wilson couldn't stand hearing me blame him at all. In the end, David Wilson staggered out of the door. Before he left, he ordered people to clean up the bodies and ran back to the villa alone. He eventually came back to find me. He held my body and cried bitterly. I looked at his tears and only felt a deep sense of irony. When I was alive, he rarely gave me a kind look and even listened to Ashley Miller's instigations. Now that I'm dead, he's putting on a show of affection. Who is he trying to impress? I was really wrong. It's all my fault, all my fault. I only wanted them to do some hazing the bride, I didn't want them to hurt you, please forgive me. He trembled, incoherent, and apologized over and over again. After who knows how long, the doorbell rang urgently. It was Ashley Miller. David Wilson opened the door, and a hint of surprise flashed in Ashley Miller's eyes. Her complexion was much better, so it seemed my horrible state didn't scare her. On the contrary, after learning of my death, her heart seemed to be filled with triumph. Ashley Miller snuggled into David Wilson's arms, her eyes as calculating as ever. Dave, Emily Carter is dead. I'll be with you instead, okay? We used to be so in love. The old man, David's father, stopped us back then, but now, the old man, David's father, is already dead, and there are no obstacles between you and me. She happily planned for the future, not noticing David Wilson's fierce eyes. Seeing that David Wilson didn't respond, Ashley Miller stood on tiptoe and tried to kiss him, but David Wilson slapped her hard. Ashley Miller fell to the ground, covering her red and swollen face, confused and aggrieved. Dave, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? How dare you even show your face in front of me? I was planning to deal with you tomorrow. As David Wilson spoke, he grabbed Ashley Miller's hair and dragged her into the house. What is this? In the middle of the house, my body was displayed in a transparent freezer. Ashley Miller screamed in fright, but before she could say anything else, David Wilson used force to slam her head into the corner of the freezer. It's all because of you. Don't think I don't know about all the dirty things you've done. You repeatedly provoked my with your messages, you deliberately seduced my stepmother's son at the wedding, and you stirred up trouble between and me. You deserve to die. It's all because of you. Otherwise, how could my have died? You should pay the price. As he said that, David Wilson slammed Ashley Miller's head into the freezer again. He didn't let go until her head was bleeding. Ashley Miller was so scared that she was trembling all over. She finally collapsed on the ground, letting the blood from her forehead flow into her eyes, leaving 2 lines of bloody tears. In the end, she still struggled to beg for mercy. "Dave, I really know I was wrong, please forgive me, okay? Emily Carter is already dead, and now only I can take care of you, only I truly love you. Just pretend Emily Carter never existed, okay? You and I are each other's first love." Before she could say anything else, David Wilson kicked her to the ground. "You're not worthy to mention Emily Carter. In this life, I only love her. Why did you have to come back and break us up?" David Wilson said as he kicked Ashley Miller's head. Ashley Miller screamed in terror and finally lost all her strength, letting his fists fall on her body. I stared at the 2 despicable people, feeling nauseous. David Wilson and Ashley Miller were both equally bad. Just as she was about to die, Ashley Miller used her last breath to say, "David Wilson, you deserve to lose the one you love. Someone like you, how could you be worthy of Emily Carter? You're just a piece of trash. Why are you pretending to be so devoted? I didn't see you thinking about Emily Carter when you were writing me. David Wilson, Emily Carter's death is all your fault." David Wilson slammed Ashley Miller's head into the ground again, and she completely lost her breath. After who knows how long, the door was broken open. A large group of people flooded into the villa. It was David Wilson's stepmother, Mrs. Wilson, who had brought them. After the old man, David's father, died, David Wilson inherited the Wilson Group. However, his stepmother was ambitious and only wanted to put her own son, David Wilson's stepbrother, into the Wilson Group, but David Wilson refused. His stepmother held a grudge because of this and had long been dissatisfied with David Wilson. Now, stepmother Mrs. Wilson finally learned about David Wilson's situation, and she brought the police to his door. With the scandal, let's see who dares to let David Wilson be the president of the Wilson Group. Even though she had prepared thoroughly, everyone was shocked when they saw the scene before them. At this time, I was lying in the freezer, next to Ashley Miller covered in blood, and David Wilson, who was also covered in blood. When the police took David Wilson away, he even desperately hugged my body. "Don't separate me and Em, let me go. Take him away too, I want to see her." But his wish was not fulfilled. The stepmother thought it was bad luck and had me and Ashley Miller cremated directly. She had patiently endured for many years. According to David Wilson, his stepmother was an ambitious woman who was willing to marry an old man 20 years older than her, his deceased father, for money. And now, she had finally become the matriarch, successfully placed the son she had brought with her into the Wilson Group, and taken control of the entire Wilson Group. In the end, David Wilson didn't hold on to anything. He looked at the setting sun covered by dark clouds, and a sad look flashed across his lips. All that awaited him were a pair of handcuffs and the judgment of the law. On the day of David Wilson's execution, my soul was also disappearing little by little. At first, it was because my obsession was too deep that my soul floated in midair and didn't reincarnate. But now, everyone had been punished. In my next life, I don't want to meet these people again. Extra, the Johnson Group in Oak Haven welcomed a newborn that day, a little princess. The little princess's round, big eyes curiously looked at the world, surrounded by people and filled with smiling faces. Emily Carter had memories of her past life. Perhaps it was fate, but in this life, she was reincarnated into the family of Mr. Johnson, who was a good friend of her father, Mr. Carter. The Johnson family had 3 sons, and everyone was hoping that the 4th child would be a little princess. So Emily Carter's arrival immediately made her the apple of the Johnson family's eye. "Honey, what should we name our child? You're a blockhead and don't know how to talk. I want our daughter to be smart and eloquent, so let's call her Em, okay? Emily Carter Johnson, that's a nice name." Emily Carter looked at the kind faces of the couple, feeling warm in her heart. But being reincarnated with memories of her past life was a bit boring. Just as she was troubled, a semi-transparent figure flashed before her eyes. An old woman was holding a bowl of potion and poured it into her mouth. "You little confused thing, how can you live a good life without drinking the memory soup?" After drinking the bowl of water, Emily Carter felt her memories being extracted, and her head started to ache and she cried loudly. "Oh dear, Em, don't cry, don't cry. Did your deadbeat dad scare you?" The kind woman held Emily Carter and comforted her. The three older brothers in the room, the Johnson parents, the Johnson grandma and grandpa,